Hour number 4, we're almost 1/4 of the way through. Can you believe it? I mean, next hour we're going to be 1/4 of the way through Revelation, but we're in the 4th stop in our journey. Starting in verse 17 through 20, I keep alluding to it because all of this is connected, but here's what we're looking at. The short version would be God's will, but the long version is, will you? Not, the first century people, because they already have had the opportunity. Will you follow God's plan for your life? You know what's so exciting? God has a plan for your life. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. I can't describe to you how wonderful it is to know, to be convinced, to be confident that you're following God's plan for your life. 5 times the New Testament says, this is the will of God. I mean, actually, the wording, if you type that into Logos or even into Google and say, this is the will of God, you'll find 5 verses say that. And that's kind of like the beginning for following God's will. But all 5 of them are illustrated right here in our text, so we're going to look at them. Where are we? Remember, I've shown you this chart before, the 7 clear events of Revelation. We're still up here. We're in the first 3 chapters, and a lot of our first week is going to be going through this because these are normal people like us living in abnormal places, very difficult places, and they had to decide if they were going to follow God's plan for their life in a difficult place. Then we're going to get to heaven, Christ Church in heaven. Then we're going to see the tribulation and go through all that stuff, the seals and the bowls and the trumpets and everything. See Christ return, the second coming of Christ. We're going to see him rule on earth in the millennium. We're going to see hell opened and people cast in the lake of fire. And then we're going to tour heaven. So that's where we're going. Kind of a visual of that I've already shown you. By the way, I had a great question yesterday, and I'll cap it off. After class, someone asked me, they said, do you think those signs that we're seeing are for they were saying for the rapture, or for the second coming, and how can you relate that to us? And we had a great talk about it. But the Bible teaches that the church of Jesus Christ that's on the earth right now is awaiting the blessed hope of being taken out of earth before the tribulation. But what Jesus answered to his own disciples, they asked him in Matthew 24, what are the signs of your coming? Now let me ask you this. Here's before some of you start fading. Some of you last the first couple minutes and then you start fading. Before you fade, if you start seeing people putting Christmas lights up on their houses, what is coming soon? Yeah, Thanksgiving. They always they don't put up the lights on Christmas Day. They put them up I've seen them after Halloween start up where we've lived. So when you see Christmas lights, it's a sign that Christmas is coming, but usually it's way before. It's usually before Thanksgiving. So what Jesus is saying, what he said in Matthew 24, when you see a time when one person can track everybody on earth, you're nearing the last moments of Earth's history. When you see someone that can keep everybody from buying and selling, that was never possible. It's still not fully possible yet, because there's still coins and paper money out there, and there's still not a lock on money. When you see a time when everyone on earth could be killed, everyone. Right now, the United States has enough nuclear warheads to kill everybody on earth about 100 times. Russia has the same amount. China's building them as fast as they can. And they're making them better and better and better and more precise and more powerful and everything else. So Jesus said, when you see all of these things together, what he said is, the generation that sees all of it possible will be the final generation. It's very interesting. We're very close. I read again today, this morning, that the Bank of England is thinking of going to digital pounds, and the U.S. is thinking of going to digital dollars. Once they do that, the whole world is going to reevaluate paper money. Very interesting. But we believe that we're right here. We're headed to watch. It appears the tribulation events are parts of them shown to us in heaven. Right now, everybody in heaven isn't in the grandstands like Doug Oldham used to sing. The grandstands are all erect and everybody's there cheering. It doesn't say that in the Bible, but during the tribulation, there is cheering for moments of the tribulation. Then we all come clad in white array with Christ at the second coming. He institutes his reign. Most of the people refuse to follow him, and the rebels are incinerated. Then they stand before him at the great white throne, and then we dwell in heaven forever. So that's a visual of those 7 clear events. For your quiz, which I haven't got a note yet when it's coming, but they tell you everything. Whenever you get your first quiz, here are some things to think about. John wrote how many books? That was not very confident. Remember, if you see something, if you hear something, if you say something, you'll remember a lot longer. So you're seeing it with your eyes, you're hearing me say it, and you say it, and it'll really give you about a 90% memory. John wrote how many books? Okay, and by the way, what are they? The Gospel by John, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Epistle by John, and the book of the Revelation. And so those are the 5. Did Paul write any of those? No. Who wrote them? So be careful. If I was trying to write a tricky quiz, I'd say, I would kind of say, Paul was on Patmos and he wrote Revelation and 5 other books, true or false. What would that be? Yeah, false. It wasn't Paul on Patmos, it was John on Patmos. How long does it take to read the Bible? That's for a 6th grader. You guys can read it much faster. It takes 72 hours to read the Bible out loud. I hope that sticks with you long after this class, because think about how long, games are. Think about how long movies are. Think about how long people spend in sessions of gaming with their friends. All these different gaming groups that there are. And then look at that block of time and say, I am going to spend my life seeking to please the Lord with my life, and the primary way to please him is knowing his will, and his will is understanding his word, and it only takes 72 hours to read the whole thing. And sadly, when I was your age, I'd only read the Bible once because someone paid me $100 if I would read the whole Bible. They would pay my way through camp. And camp was $100 back then, a really nice camp. And so I said, wow, I'll read the whole Bible. And I just got a living Bible and read the whole thing, at school. And it was neat. But once I learned how important it is to master the Scriptures, I started reading it regularly. Here's the last point for your quiz. Revelation's first verse is the theme of the book. The apocalypse, or the unveiling of Jesus Christ. So it's the only book in the Bible that the very first words of the first verse is the theme of the whole book. That's somehow on the quiz they wrote for you. And it's the only book of the Bible, look, with a promised blessing for just reading it. So this class, I can promise you, will be a blessing in your life if you read the book of Revelation for your assignment.